Every 40 seconds, somewhere in the world, someone makes a decision that ends everything. 720,000 people each year, mothers, fathers, children, friends, choose to leave this world behind. Many more people attempt to end it all. But this is not simply about statistics. This is about understanding something we rarely discuss openly, something that touches more lives than we care to admit. The World Health Organization's data reveals suicide as one of our most tragic global epidemics. But behind every number lies a human story we will never fully comprehend. Geography and wealth offer little protection from this phenomenon. Some of the world's most prosperous nations, South Korea, the United States, Japan, struggle with alarmingly high suicide rates. The patterns persist across continents, from Russia to Nepal, from Lithuania to Lesotho. Economic development does not seem to isolate societies from this fundamental human vulnerability. If anything, it sometimes appears to worsen it as traditional support systems erode and individual pressures intensify. The question why haunts families, researchers, and society itself. Religious and cultural taboos shroud suicide in secrecy, making investigation difficult. Without notes, without clear diagnosis, we are left piecing together fragments of understanding from incomplete evidence. Research attempts to categorize the causes. Nearly half of all suicides stem from brain chemistry imbalances, the invisible machinery of our minds working against us. A third connect to the grief of lost love, that particular agony of romantic rejection or abandonment. Others trace to financial ruin, professional failure, shame, or the complete collapse of hope. What strikes me most profoundly is this paradox. We have developed languages capable of describing quantum mechanics and composing symphonies, yet we struggle desperately to articulate our deepest emotional pain. Perhaps we fear misunderstanding, perhaps we fear judgment, or perhaps some suffering simply exceeds the boundaries of human expression. I once learned about Kevin Berthia, a man who stood on a breeze ready to jump, and Kevin Briggs, the police officer who approached him. Briggs did not lecture about the value of life or offer cliches about better days ahead. He simply listened. That act of listening, of being fully present with another person's pain without trying to fix or minimize it, gave Berthia a reason to continue living. This story illuminates something crucial about human connection. Sometimes the most profound interventions are the quietest ones. Sometimes presence itself becomes medicine. A few years ago, I discovered my uncle's body. He had used a doubled nylon rope I did not cry. I was terrifyingly calm, almost mechanical in my response. I made the necessary calls, handled the arrangements, watched the funeral pyre burn. Standing there, I felt like a mannequin, alive but hollow, present but disconnected from my own emotional reality. The irony was not lost on me. This was the same uncle who had first taken me to see a psychiatrist when I was in fifth grade. He understood mental pain intimately, perhaps too well. He recognized it in a child before that child could name it himself. Yet, when his own darkness became unbearable, he left no note, no explanation, no final attempt to bridge the gap between his inner world and ours. Mental illness does not leave visible bruises, it strangles from within, gradually eroding one's capacity for joy, hope, or even basic functioning. It robs you of your understanding of happiness itself, leaving you unable to answer simple questions about what brings meaning to life. Literature has long grappled with suicide as both personal tragedy and broader commentary on the human condition. From Tolstoy's Anna Karenina to countless other fictional characters, we see suicide born from lost meaning, social isolation, and crossing despair. These stories suggest that humans require purpose, love, significance, and forgiveness to survive, and that when these elements disappear, death can seem like the only logical response. Philosophers have approached the question of suicide from multiple angles. Arthur Schopenhauer believed humans are never far from that age, that it takes just one final push to cross the line between enduring and ending. In societies that celebrate success while shunning vulnerability, that pathologize sadness while demanding constant productivity, suicide becomes what might be called a silent scream against impossible expectations. Sociologist Émile Durkheim offered a different lens, viewing suicide as fundamentally social rather than individual, a symptom of community breakdown, of people losing connection to larger purposes and mutual obligations. His analysis suggests that suicide rates reflect not just personal pathology but collective failure to create meaning and belonging. Eastern philosophical traditions offer alternative frameworks for understanding suffering and the desire for escape. Buddhist thought, particularly in the concept of dukkha, recognizes suffering as an inevitable part of existence, not something to be eliminated, but to be understood and transcended through wisdom and compassion. The Buddha taught that attachment itself creates suffering, our desperate clinging to permanence in an impermanent world, our pursuit of pleasure and avoidance of pain, our very sense of a fixed self that can be threatened or destroyed. In this view, suicide represents the ultimate attachment to the idea that ending physical existence will end suffering. But Buddhism suggests that this attachment to non being is just another form of the craving that continues suffering. The path forward lies not in escape but in acceptance of suffering's universality and the cultivation of karuna, compassion, for all beings caught in this shared predicament. Hindu philosophy, through texts like the Bhagavad Gita, presents the concept of dharma, righteous duty, as something that transcends personal happiness or suffering. When Arjun despairs on the battlefield, Krishna does not dismiss his anguish but redirects him toward action without attachment to outcomes. The teaching suggests that purpose comes not from avoiding pain but from fulfilling one's role in the larger cosmic order, even when that role involves difficulty. Taoist thought offers yet another perspective through the concept of wu wei, effortless action or going with the flow of existence. Zhuangzi wrote about accepting life's natural rhythms, including its sorrows, rather than fighting against them. The Taoist sage finds peace not by conquering suffering, but by aligning with it, seeing even pain as part of the natural order that contains its own wisdom. Perhaps Albert Camus understood something essential about this struggle from an existentialist perspective. He called life absurd, beautiful, precisely because it lacks inherent meaning or clear purpose. The tension between our desperate human need for significance and the universe's apparent indifference creates what he saw as the fundamental condition of existence. From this absurdity, he argued art and imagination are born. If life came with predetermined meaning, we would have no reason to create, to question, to dream. Camus found comfort in small, immediate pleasures, football matches, cigarettes, conversations with friends. Not because these activities answered life's ultimate questions, but because they were sufficient unto themselves. They required no cosmic justification. In this, perhaps, he unknowingly echoed Eastern teachings about finding contentment in the present moment rather than seeking ultimate answers. Science, religion, and philosophy each offer frameworks for understanding human suffering, but none provides definitive answers to why we exist or what our existence should mean. Perhaps this uncertainty itself is significant. We continue questioning, imagining, believing in ideas that may be entirely fictional because the source for meaning matters more than finding final answers. Humans long for purpose and happiness with desperate intensity. When the world seems to refuse both, when brain chemistry fails, when love is lost, when hope disappears, some choose to exit rather than continue the struggle. Their decision reveals our fundamental fragility, how our emotions can lift us to extraordinary heights or destroy us completely. The answer may not be to fix people in crisis or to provide them with ready-made teachings for existence. Perhaps the response is both simpler and more demanding: to sit with those who suffer, to listen without judgment, to be present in their darkness without insisting on illuminating it with our own solutions or certainties. Sometimes presence is the only antidote to despair. Not presence that seeks to change or cure, but presence that simply acknowledges, I see you, your pain is real, You are not alone in this moment. We began with numbers. 720,000 lives lost each year to suicide. But statistics cannot capture the full weight of these losses, the conversations that will never happen, the contributions unmade, the love unexpressed, the holes left in the fabric of countless lives. These deaths remind us that being human means being vulnerable. Our capacity for suffering matches our capacity for joy. Our ability to despair equals our ability to hope. Perhaps in acknowledging this vulnerability together, in creating spaces where pain can be spoken and heard, we can make the choice to stay a little easier for those who find themselves at the edge. The uncle I lost understood mental anguish in ways that allowed him to help others, including me. That he could not extend the same compassion to himself speaks to the particular blindness that can escort profound depression. His death does not diminish the help he offered others, nor does it make his struggle less real or less worthy of understanding. In the end, suicide proves that we are fragile beings living in an often harsh world, desperately seeking connection and meaning. If we can remember this, if we can extend patience to ourselves and others in moments of deepest darkness, perhaps we can create the conditions where choosing life becomes possible, even when it does not feel meaningful.